Hey everybody, this is Jeff, one of the authors of Speed, the only weight loss book worth reading. This post is going to be on HCG and B12 injections. And this would fall under another one of our You Must Be Kidding Me segments, when Matt or I just can't take it anymore and have to give some thoughts on a product or recommendation that seems to have no good evidence to support it. Yet these recommendations or products are commonly used. So again, with HCG, Matt has posted about this a few weeks back briefly, so I'm just going to go a little bit further on that. What led us to want to do this post is this weekend Matt and I were at a health fair, which was great. But we were speaking to a young lady who works at a wellness clinic that uses the HCG protocol or hormone. And we actually had a sign up at our booth that said, if you're thinking about using HCG, don't, because it's worthless. And that's why we actually wrote a report on it a month or two ago, because a lot of clients were asking about it, and it seems to be quite popular now in this area of Arizona. So we were discussing with her about it, and she's like, well, we've had some great success, and we're like, that's great, but really the evidence that the HCG, the hormone, improves weight loss or has any benefit at all, it seems to not be valid. Again, Matt and I combed through all the research, and there's been a lot of studies on it over the years, and only 1 out of 14 or so randomized controlled trials showed any benefit. And actually that one was repeated, and there wasn't benefit the second time around. But anyways, so we said that to her, and she really didn't want to hear that. But again, Matt and I's belief is, we really want to give our clients evidence-based recommendations. And that's what spurred us to write our weight loss book, because there is a lot of information out there that we think is pretty much useless. So we wanted to put a book together that just had really useful information. Another interesting thing she said was, after we said, well, it really is no good evidence that the hormone does any good, that she said, well, it's a great way to get clients. And Matt and I couldn't believe it. We're like, really? That's your reasoning for using it? Just because you'll get clients? And so clearly that's not within Matt and I's option to give that kind of recommendation just because we'll get clients. So we were quite surprised at that kind of recommendation. So again, just to reiterate, and we've written a whole report on HCG, is that it seems like the hormone really has no beneficial effect on a physical level, and that it's the 500-calorie diet that is causing the rapid weight loss, and it's likely that increase in ketone production, which we talk about in depth in our book, is most likely helping with a reduction in appetite. But again, the evidence from the clinical trials does not support that HCG is a useful weight loss intervention. If it was, we would certainly recommend it. But again, we haven't seen the evidence for that. And we've asked a number of docs, usually through email, because we've written this report. We say, you know what, hey, we've written this report and we haven't found that there's any good evidence to show that this actually works. And we never get a reply of any good evidence. So again, until we get that evidence, we're going to continue to say that the HCG hormone is not useful for weight loss and shouldn't be used, and that there are other methodologies that have support and should be used. Another thing, so I was checking out the website for the clinic that the woman works at, and I did find an interesting aspect too, that they also use B12 injections. And they state specifically on their site, B12 injections for metabolic boost and increased energy. Really. Interesting, we actually, in our myths chapter, we talk about B12 and B12 injections, and that there's not a shred of evidence that B12 injections help with weight loss. Zero, none. In fact, I'm going to read a quick aspect from it, is when we were looking through the evidence on B12, we found that a deficiency of B12 was interesting. Here's the deficiencies: anemia, fatigue, weakness, constipation, loss of appetite, and weight loss. So the only really evidence out there is that a lack of B12 or a B12 deficiency would lead to weight loss. Clearly, a deficiency of B12 is not a good thing. That forms a specific type of anemia, and so that's not a good thing. But again, there is no evidence that really high levels of B12 through an injection will improve your weight loss or speed up your metabolism. Again, there's nothing wrong with B12, and supplementing it is fine. The other thing is that an oral B12 is just as useful as an injection, so there's no need to get an injection. There's a particular form of B12 called methylcobalamin that is very absorbable orally, so that's one form that's great. There are other forms that are still useful, but again, clearly there's no evidence that B12 injections are useful for weight loss. Well, we just want to touch upon those couple things again. The HCG stuff. If you're doing it, or if you know about somebody who's thinking about it, or you're contemplating it, we really encourage you to read our report because we go through detail of what the evidence says, and again, the likelihood of why a number of people are probably getting results is the 500 calorie a day diet, which is very low. We think too low. And as well as a placebo effect. You're getting injected weekly, and that keeps you motivated because you think that's helping. So until we see further evidence, HCG, we think, is worthless and a waste of your money. And so are B12 injections. So steer clear of those, and thanks for watching. See you next time.